Mere days after the release of Assassin's Creed Unity, target render screenshots for the now known Assassin's Creed Syndicate leaked under the name Assassin's Creed Victory, in which we see an assassin with some rather cool looking robes which don't actually appear in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Or at least they don't appear somewhere where the player can equip them. But what if I told you there was an assassin in the game that had very similar robes? Introducing George Westhouse. Though if you've played more than 5 minutes of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I really don't have to. Though I must admit his robes look a lot better than any of the shit that Jacob got to wear. But who is this George Westhouse character? And more importantly, was he the initial intended protagonist of Assassin's Creed Syndicate? To answer the latter bit, probably not. But who is George Westhouse nonetheless? Because his robe design is incredibly similar to that of the design of the Assassin's Creed Victory target render footage leaked screenshots. Jesus Christ, that was a mouthful. George Westhouse was born on the 30th of April in the year 1820. He grew up working at an old mill in Crawley, where one day he was attacked by a group of robbers. However, the assassin Ethan Fry came to his aid. This encounter later caused George to join the Assassin Brotherhood, where he was trained by both Ethan and Cecily Fry. George and Ethan eventually became very good friends, even beginning to share details regarding each other's missions. George eventually began undertaking missions with Ethan's children, Jacob and Evie Fry. And after the deaths of Ethan and Cecily Fry, George was charged with planning the twins' missions. George also maintained Ethan Fry's course on the conflict with the Templars, who had taken a very firm control over London. He believed that the assassins should wait for a more opportune moment to strike that had not yet arisen. In February in the year 1868, George tasked Jacob and Evie with killing the Templars, Rupert Ferris and David Brewster. After each assassin successfully carried out their kill, the twins argued with George that they need to strike at the Templars in London, to which George disagreed, and further implied that the council would be wiser on the matter. Then the twins ditched the dodgy pillock and went to London anyway. After this, there is no recording of what happened to George Westhouse regarding details about his later life or anything like that. He just left Jacob and Evie Fry to it, something you probably wouldn't expect him to do. So all in all, he's a fairly uninteresting character, if I'm honest. One who has very little relevance to the overall story of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. But why do people think that this really dull character, who we only see for about 5 minutes, was originally intended to be the main protagonist of Assassin's Creed Victory? He does wear the robes of the character seen in the target render footage leaked screenshots, that's for sure. But the only thing in Assassin's Creed Syndicate that we see in these screenshots are actually the robes. And there is no way to suggest that George Westhouse is actually the man under these robes in the target render screenshots. Now for a simple and blunt theory. This is not George Westhouse at all. These are just screenshots from target render footage that wasn't meant to be leaked, but they did, and Ubisoft right away acknowledged the leaks, then giving a character in the actual game the robes of the character in the leaked footage of the target render as something of an Easter egg. I'd imagine they had Jacob Fry planned out a little bit before when this leaked, so the person under the hood in these leaked screenshots of the target render footage is probably Jacob Fry. And George Westhouse's robes are little more than a simple reference to this little leak that happened just days after Unity, which is kind of funny and at the same time very sad. You may as well make light of it, and that's exactly what Ubisoft tried to do. So in a way, George Westhouse is actually something of a self-aware joke at best. And that's all he is, I'm afraid. He's no long-lost Assassin's Creed protagonist or anything like that. He's just a guy that they decided to give these robes as a bit of a self-aware joke. Simply using the robes as a little bit of a hint back to this little hiccup of a leak that happened just after they released the previous Assassin's Creed game at the time. I do believe they had the majority of the story elements planned out, so I'd imagine the person we see in the target render footage is actually Jacob Fry. Just simply putting to bed this George Westhouse stuff. But there you have it, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, let your friends know about this video and the channel, and I will see you all very soon in the next one with another video at some point, so I will see you all later.